In 410 AD, an unthinkable catastrophe struck Britannia. The Roman legions marched out of London's gates, taking civilization with them forever. This was not a slow decline over centuries. It was sudden. In a single generation, the city didn't just stop growing. It traveled back in time, plunging into a darkness that would last for 500 years. The lights went out, central heating turned cold, and trade stopped completely. London, once the jewel in the empire's crown, became a desolate wasteland almost overnight. How does a thriving megacity turn into a ghost town in the blink of an eye? To understand this collapse, we must rewind the clock to the year 400 AD. Just a decade before the end, Londinium still looks like the unshakable ruler of Britannia. Its 20-foot stone walls protect the 45,000 souls living within. On the surface, everything seems permanent. The public baths are still warm, steaming in the cold morning air, while the governor hosts lavish banquets with wine imported directly from Italy. To a citizen standing on London Bridge, an engineering marvel spanning the River Thames, the empire feels eternal and unbreakable. This structure has stood for 4 centuries, longer than the United States has existed today. To them, Rome is the world itself. They have no idea they are living in the final, tragic chapter of their history. They fail to see the cracks gaping in the system's foundation. The imperial economy is stretched to the breaking point, and borders across Europe are bleeding. The best legions are quietly being pulled away. One by one, garrisons are emptied to put out fires of rebellion closer to Rome, leaving the outer provinces dangerously exposed. The sun is still shining on Londinium, but the storm has already broken on the horizon. London's destruction didn't come because the city failed internally. It came because of a catastrophe happening 1,000 miles away. The heart of the empire was stopping, and London was just a distant limb about to be amputated without warning. In 410 AD, world-shattering news finally arrived at London's docks. The Visigoths had sacked Rome. For the first time in 800 years, the Eternal City was burning. Smoke from the Remnant Forum choked the hope of every province. Emperor Honorius, desperate to save the heart of the empire, had no soldiers to spare for a misty island. When panicked British leaders wrote to him, begging for help against barbarian raids, his reply was chillingly brief. Look to your own defenses. It was a death sentence for the province. The last legions marched to the ports and sailed away to fight in Italy, leaving London alone to face its fate without protection. Rome had abandoned them. But before we reveal how the city collapsed from the inside, take a moment to subscribe to 1001 Empires. Help us uncover more forgotten histories. Now, let's watch the lights go out. Suddenly, the empire's logistics hub had no empire left to serve. London was an orphan. What happens when a global economy is unplugged overnight? The answer is systemic starvation. Within a decade, money simply stopped flowing. This is not hyperbole. Archaeologists have found that almost no new coins entered Britain after the year 402 AD. The cash economy, which drove markets, workshops, and soldiers' wages, began to collapse instantly. Without coin, you couldn't pay workers to clean the sewers or maintain the roads. Without coin, you couldn't import olive oil for the lamps. Within a few years, the markets fell silent, potteries closed down, and the glassworks went cold forever. The complex supply chains that brought goods from Egypt and Gaul to London dinner tables were severed overnight. Londoners were forced back into a primitive barter economy. They traded grain for shoes and services for food. They began scavenging for survival inside the shell of a high-tech city that no longer functioned or protected them. A city like Roman London was a machine requiring constant maintenance to survive. It needed engineers, a budget, and specialized labor. Without them, the machine began to break. The aqueducts clogged with silt, and fountains that were once the city's pride ran dry. Sophisticated underground drainage systems backed up, causing sewage to flood the streets. The giant roof of the basilica, the largest building north of the Alps, began to leak badly. Rainwater seeped in, rotting the sturdy support timbers. Without funds for repairs, the roof eventually collapsed, shattering the marble floor below. The administrative heart of the city was now just a ruin open to the gray English sky. The hypocaust heating systems, once the height of technological luxury, became useless dark caves filled with rats. Those who remained tried to patch things up as best they could. We find sad archaeological evidence. Grand mosaic floors covered over with rough timber planks and open fire pits, destroying the art underneath to survive the cold. Grandeur was gone, replaced by a desperate struggle to stay warm in drafty stone ruins. Great mansions were subdivided into tiny, cramped plots. Dining rooms that once hosted parties became pens for livestock. Pigs roamed where senators used to debate, and chickens nested in the corners of rooms that once held fine Roman statues. By 450 AD, Londinium, once home to tens of thousands, was virtually empty. The Great London Bridge collapsed into the Thames, and no one had the technology or manpower to fix it. Straight Roman roads began to be blocked by fallen masonry, cutting off the city from the rest of the island and the world. Nature started to reclaim what man had borrowed. Grass grew wild over the forum, and trees burst through broken roof tiles. Archaeologists call this period the Dark Earth. A thick layer of black soil covers Roman ruins across London. This isn't flood silt. It is the soil of decomposition and organic waste piling up. This layer suggests that for centuries, the center of London wasn't a city at all. It was wild farmland inside defensive walls. The remains of Roman buildings became strange hills covered in scrub. The New York of the ancient world had become a true ghost town, silent, dark, and utterly abandoned by its people. For outsiders who arrived later, the city was terrifying. When the Anglo-Saxons eventually arrived and settled in the area in the 600s, their reaction was surprising. They didn't move into the empty Roman houses. They wouldn't even step inside the city walls. In fact, they were deeply afraid of the ruins and avoided them. They built their own settlement, called Londinium, a mile to the west, in the area that is now Covent Garden. Living in simple wooden huts, they looked east toward the towering stone walls and giant arches of the shattered Roman city. To their simple eyes, this architecture was not made by human hands at all. In their stories, the Saxons whispered about this dead city. They believed it was a place where the old gods still walked among shattered columns. Every broken arch was a doorway to the other world. Every echo among the stones was the voice of a restless spirit, warning them to stay away from Rome's abandoned power. In their poetry, they called the Roman ruins Antiguork, the work of giants. They could not imagine ordinary hands lifting stones so heavy or spanning rivers with bridges of solid masonry. To them, this was not just abandoned architecture. It was a forbidden monument from an age of giants and forgotten dangerous wisdom. So they stayed outside. While Saxon farmers plowed their fields and merchants traded cloth and salt in wooden halls, the Roman city slept behind its walls. For nearly 400 years, the city of London, as we know it today, the sacred square mile, remained a silent island of stone, wrapped in superstition and fear. Its streets disappeared beneath the black soil of the dark earth. Statues of emperors lay face down in the mud, their names erased. Roofs caved in, leaving only jagged ribs of brick and stone. The knowledge that once built this place, cement recipes, engineering techniques, heating systems, had vanished. Humanity had hit a technological reset button. It would take a millennium for London to regain the level of comfort it once enjoyed under Roman rule. But history never stays still. A new storm was gathering beyond the horizon, out on the cold gray sea. Sailors spoke of dragon-headed ships, of men who worshipped strange gods and loved the sound of burning cities. In the 8th and 9th centuries, those rumors arrived in brutal flesh. Viking longships slipped silently up the rivers. their shallow hulls gliding over waters the Romans once patrolled. The Saxon settlement of Londonwick, unfortified and open, lay exposed like meat on a butcher's table, ready for the axe and flame. The first raids were swift and merciless. The Vikings burned wooden huts, plundered churches, and carried off captives in chains. Smoke rose over Londonwick as families fled into the countryside. What had once seemed a reasonable choice, to live outside the haunted Roman walls, now looked like a fatal mistake paid in blood and ash. Again and again the raiders returned, drawn by the easy prize of a rich trading port without stone defenses. The Saxons tried to rebuild, but every season of planting risked another season of fire. It became clear that living in the open was no longer possible. Someone had to think differently, to look backward, to move forward. That someone was King Alfred of Wessex. Unlike many of his contemporaries, Alfred was a strategist and a visionary. He saw that swords and courage were not enough. To survive, England needed fortresses, not just warriors. And on his maps, one place stood out: the abandoned Roman city, still encircled by ancient yet mighty walls. Alfred understood what others feared to admit. The ghosts that haunted London were imaginary, but the Viking axes were painfully real. Where others saw cursed ruins, he saw an opportunity. Those crumbling Roman stones represented free defenses, the skeleton of a fortress ready to be reborn. All it needed was courage, labor, and a king's command. In 886 AD, Alfred made a decision that would change London's fate forever. He ordered the reoccupation of the Roman city. People would move from Londonwick back inside the old walls. This was not just a relocation, it was a resurrection. Londinium, the ghost, was about to awaken under a new name, Londonburg. The task that followed was monumental. Generations had treated the ruins as a quarry or a haunted boundary line. Now, workers had to clear 4 centuries of debris. They hauled away black earth, toppled walls, broken statues, and the skeletons of forgotten houses. Beneath their feet, the bones of Roman streets slowly emerged into the light. New timber buildings rose where Roman shops once stood. Fresh roads were laid, sometimes following the old stone paths, sometimes cutting new lines across the ancient grid. Alfred repaired the surviving walls, strengthened the gates, and dug new defensive ditches. The sleeping city, half buried in legend, began to throb again with human voices and footsteps. Markets returned to the same spaces where Roman merchants had shouted their prices centuries earlier. Churches and halls were built using red bricks, stolen from shattered villas and bathhouses. It was a strange fusion, a Christian Saxon stronghold built atop pagan Roman foundations, defended by walls raised under emperors who never imagined a king named Alfred. From this moment, London's destiny shifted. No longer just a provincial trading spot, it began its long climb back to prominence. The Vikings found a city far harder to burn, protected by ancient stone and fresh resolve. The ghost town had become a fortress, and that fortress would eventually evolve into the beating heart of a kingdom. Over the next centuries, medieval streets twisted themselves around Roman ghosts. Engineers built where they could, but the old walls dictated the shape of the future. Gates like Ludgate and Newgate marked the paths travelers used. Even when people forgot the names of Roman emperors, they still walked the lines drawn by Roman surveyors. Today, the financial district of London, the city, sits directly on this palimpsest of power. Glass and steel skyscrapers pierce the sky where basilicas once stretched their stone roofs. Modern bankers hurry along streets whose curves and corners still echo decisions made nearly 2,000 years ago, when the first Roman planners staked out Londinium's grid. Dig almost anywhere in that square mile, and the buried past rises to greet you. Construction workers find shards of red pottery, fragments of mosaic floors, and coins stamped with the stern profiles of forgotten emperors. Charred timber, collapsed walls, and layers of dark earth still whisper of fires, famines, and the long sleep between empires. London would grow into the capital of a new empire, one that painted nearly a quarter of the globe in its colors. From these same docks, ships would sail to India, Africa, the Americas, carrying goods, soldiers, and administrators. For a time, London ruled the waves just as Rome once ruled the roads and seas. But beneath this story of triumph lies a quieter truth. Every era that calls itself eternal stands on the ashes of another that once believed the same. Roman London thought the empire would last forever. So did many Victorians, staring proudly at maps of red. Yet cities remember what human beings prefer to forget. Beneath the asphalt and polished stone, London still keeps its scars. Under office blocks, there are rooms that once held Roman courts. Beneath modern pubs, wine once imported from distant vineyards was poured into clay cups. Somewhere below the traffic, a broken section of London Bridge lies silently in the mud of the Thames. When we walk those streets today, we rarely notice the thinness of the present. A single layer of glass, metal, and fashion separates us from centuries of collapse. Under our feet are the bones of plague victims, the footprints of Saxon settlers, the foundations of Roman warehouses. London is not one city, it is many stacked vertically. The story of Roman London's fall, abandonment, and rebirth is more than a curiosity from the past. It is a warning written in brick and stone. It tells us that advanced technology, thriving trade, and strong walls are not guarantees. They are temporary conditions, held together by human decisions and sometimes by distant events beyond our control. Rome did not fall in London. It fell far away, under different skies. But when the center collapsed, the edges withered. Londinium did not die because its people were weak or foolish. It died because its lifeline was cut. Its economy starved, its defenses emptied, and its knowledge abandoned in favor of immediate survival. Every great city today is connected to a wider system, just as London once relied on Rome. Supply chains stretch across oceans. Currencies, markets, and data flow in invisible rivers. We trust that they will always function, that the lights will always stay on. Rome and London once shared that same quiet, unspoken faith in continuity. Standing on a modern London street at night, surrounded by neon lights and roaring buses, it is hard to imagine cows grazing where skyscrapers now stand. Yet for 4 centuries, that was exactly the case. The mightiest city in Roman Britain became a patchwork of fields, ruins, and legends, a place people skirted rather than entered. The giant has awakened now, stronger than ever. London is a titan of finance, culture, and politics. But under its foundations, the ghost city remains. Every excavation is a conversation between past and present, between a world that thought itself immortal and another that makes the same comforting mistake. The ruins watch us, silently, from below. They remind us that no civilization is guaranteed a happy ending. Empires crumble, currencies fail, and cities empty. The bridges we take for granted can fall into the river, and no engineer may be left who remembers how to rebuild them. The story of Londinium shows how quickly sophistication can unravel when its supporting web snaps. Yet this story is not only about loss. It is also about resilience. London died, but it did not stay dead. It slumbered, waited, and returned under new rulers, new faiths, and new languages. Stones laid by Roman hands still carry medieval towers, Tudor houses, and Victorian offices. Destruction and rebirth are both chapters in the same long book. When you next see the skyline of London, its towers of glass, its ancient churches squeezed between banks, remember the ghost beneath your feet. Remember the 5 centuries when this place was fields and fear, when the work of giants lay silent. Because in that silence lies the most important lesson of all. Nothing built by humans is ever truly permanent.